Okay, so, okay, well, thank you again, everybody, for logging on time. I think most of you know me. My name's Lisa Karn. I've been in Belize over 25 years, and we registered Fragments of Hope in 2013 in Belize, but we've been doing restoration work since 2006. And then we also were able to register Fragments of Hope in the US as a 501c3 nonprofit in 2015. So we have two different boards, and I'm the crossover between the board members, and we're registered in both places. So you can read for yourself what I'm going to run through, and I'm going to go through fairly quickly so that we have time for the discussion, because I'm hoping that you guys are having a little drink while we do this, so you have the courage for speak up, because we really want feedback. We miss our public meetings. Some of you know that, how do I move the slide? Oh, there, I see it, I see it. Some of you know that we often do public meetings several times a year, and we did manage to squeeze in one AGM in August, right before the Belizean regulations changed. So I think we were allowed 25 people or something in August. But anyway, we usually do at least a few public meetings, so we kind of miss that on the ground feedback from stakeholders. So number of outplants. So if you don't know where Belize is, I'm sure you all do, but just a quick reminder, here we are. Can you see my cursor? There's a little square around us. We're in Central America, but we're also in the Caribbean or Latin America. So sometimes it's confusing which group we're in. Like to be included in all of them. Sometimes we get left out of the Spanish speaking publications, and sometimes we get left out of the insular Caribbean work. So it's a perfect spot for me, who's not always fitting in the right place. Anyway, so here I have the sites, not including the new northern sites that we just established this year, which I'll have another slide on. And the number in parentheses is the total number of fragments that we have outplanted over the years. And the number that's not in parentheses is what we managed to get done in 2020, despite all of the COVID craziness. So up here, I've circled the totals for you. We still managed to get over 10,000 outplants done this year. And some of that is the microfragmenting technique. I'm not going to go into all the methods here. And then the total over all the years is this over 274,000 coral outplants. But many of you know why those numbers can be kind of meaningless. And so we'll be talking about how we quantify, the actual change in live coral cover. But I just want to give a huge shout out to the Belizean Fisheries Department, as well as our local police department, because we really only sat down the first 2 weeks in March, or whenever that first state of emergency went in, where we just kind of had to like hold tight for a minute. And then the fisheries department and the local police department went out of their way to make sure that we were called essential workers and we could continue doing our outplanting. And that was great to be able to, not only for me, get out to sea, but for the folks that we work with, get a little bit of income when everything else was on standstill. So that is our outplant summary from this year. I have to remember to use the arrow. Bleaching, climate change is real. Bleaching was terrible this year, and people often ask me, how do we, is it worse this year than last year, or what's the pattern, or what's going on? Bar graphs might not be everybody's favorite. What we're looking at here are the percentage out of 200 corals surveyed per site. Partially bleached means, like this photograph on the top corner here, you see some of it is white, but not all of it is white. So that's what we mean by partially bleached. And when we see a coral like this, then we also quantify how much of it is bleaching versus these corals. And these are outplants at Silk Key versus these corals in the background that are not bleaching. So your y-axis is the percent of both partially bleached and fully bleached, means like all the way white, percentage of 200 coral survey per site. And then left to right on the y-axis are the site names, and I have a map for you in a minute to give you some reference. But from left to right, it is near shore shallow, and then Laughing Bird, these are a little bit deeper sites. When I say shallow, it's like 5 meters and less. And then here, these are like 12 to 14 meters. Then going further east, further out to the main barrier reef, these are shallow sites here. And then this is from Southwater Key Marine Reserve. Many people think it's salt water because in Creole we say salt water, but it's Southwater Key. And then the different colors, apologize if you're colorblind like Franco is, are the different months for 2020 only. So I have a slide that's going to give you a little bit of perspective. I hope it's a little busy, but I circled this because, again, these are the near shore sites, meaning close to the Placencia mainland, close to the Belize mainland. And these numbers were really high for 2020. And so I have another graph in a minute that's going to show you some temperature. And I'm sorry this is so busy. The point of this slide is that prior to this year, prior to 2020, the pattern that we were sort of banking all of our work on was that the nearshore sites were more thermally tolerant because they'd already been exposed to higher temperatures long-term, both acute and chronic, meaning higher temperatures and for a longer period of time than offshore. Let me get to the map. So then offshore corals here. So for example, in this area here, we have sea surface satellite temperature data from 1985 to 2005 that shows that trend. And we have in situ temperature loggers, meaning they're in the water logging real-time temperature underwater for over 10 years at most of these sites. And so this year was odd. If you note, this map is from 2017, which in 2017, that had been our most severe bleaching event ever since we started looking. The first bleaching event, again, directly from climate change, higher sea temperatures. The first event in Belize was 1995. The big global one people have heard about was 1998. A lot of the news is about Australia, the last few years losing so much of their reef. But in the Caribbean, we've been dealing with this, since 1998, the most severe one. And 2017 was the worst year to date. And now 2020, and then 2019 surpassed it and was an odd pattern. And then this year was worse than ever. So basically, I'm spending all this time on the bleaching. This slide is from Mark Eakin, who just retired from NOAA, and who is thankfully gave me this. I haven't asked for the most updated one. Let me walk you through this. What we're looking at here is from the sea surface satellite temperature data from a virtual station, which is at Glover's Reef Marine Reserve. And these are not the last 10 years, but the last 10 warmest years on record for Belize. So it's not necessarily sequential. However, we did have several in a row. So these top lines right here are the actual temperature data, and that big black line that's like higher than everything else was this year, 2020. And what we're looking at on the bottom here is what's called degree heating weeks. And later someone can correct me if I say this wrong, but in a nutshell, they've done a bunch of math and they figured out the difference in the average temperature and how long it's been that different from that average temperature. And they were able to create predictions such that you can expect on the bottom, they have color codes for when you need to start looking for bleaching. And you can sign up for this, it's free. They have it for all over the world. They have one site for Belize and you get the email alerts and then you can go and check. And we have a whole group that looks at bleaching. My point about all of this is that, again, this black line is 2020 and you can see that it is higher than ever before and even last January. And so last year, which is the red line, 2019, was unusual because we had a huge spike late in the year, a high temperature spike late in the year after October. You see all these other colored lines down here have been our normal pattern, and even yellow, 2017, which until 19 and 20 were the worst bleaching years, followed that same pattern where the peak is around the same time of year. 2019 was very different. We had a late peak and the bleaching lasted way through January. We didn't even start outplanting corals because of that until February. Now come again to 2020 and it just stayed hotter the whole year and it actually peaked earlier. So I guess the take home message, and I'm still looking at a lot of the data, but what's so disturbing is that, these predictions from 20 years ago are coming true, which is basically we can expect bleaching events every year. It's just a question of severity, and it's pretty much getting worse every year. And so sorry to dwell on it, but that is my life. that we're living. These are examples of this year. Never before these are our deepest nurseries at Laughing Bird Key. They're at like 5 meters. And all of these other previous severe events, they never looked like this. And they look like this in October, but most of them have recovered. Thankfully, this is just December 14th. We were just at Laughing Bird Key. Another example here, October through December, recovered nicely. So, I mean, this is good, but what is not good is the bleaching, because even if they recover, they're compromised with their reproduction, with their growth rates and things like that. This is a busy slide, but if Janie is here, this is one of her favorite things, is that we have so much data on individual corals over time. So this is one of the very first elkhorn transplants that we moved from Gladden Spit to Laughing Bird in 2006, which is still alive today. We have like over almost 90% survival from those first small amount of fragments, like 17 that we moved in '06. And so this is a time series showing not only the growth over time, I had to skip a few years to fit it in, and I have the next few years on the next slide, but the bleaching patterns. And my point here is that we have not seen this, like what we call bone white event, since '08 in southern Belize. So this year was really shocking. So even before all the data came in with the temperature and the bleaching data, we have these acropores that we've been following over time as our own indicators, as my own indicator. So here is this coral that barely bleached. We call this partially bleaching on the tips in 2017, which was the worst year prior to 19 and 2020. And look, 2019, it didn't even get it that bad. And here's 2020. So to me, again, these are indicators for me that I knew 2020 was not good. It was not good all around, even before I got that lovely graph from Mark Eakin. And then just to make you feel a little better, here is the same coral, December 14th, and at least it is recovering, but you still see what we call the partial bleaching. It is not fully recovered. And again, usually in previous years, the corals that bleach and recover have recovered by December, but 2019, they did not, and 2020 was bad again. So sorry, that is dwelling a lot on the bad news. Some more examples, again, from this year. And when I get to my last slide, I'll mention all the things we're not talking about, and we're not talking about genetics. So the point of this slide is that these are different individual elkhorns and they have different bleaching patterns. And so I'm not going to go into how long we've been waiting and how much information we're hoping to finally get out of the genetics that we have been looking at for a while. But it's clear here, again, a few months later, this one is recovered and this one still hasn't. So these are different individual of the same species. Moving on to the new sites, and I don't have the updated maps, but basically the fisheries department asked us to go up to Holchan and Bacalar Chico in northern Belize in May. It was a little bit rushed and we used up the last of the MCAP money for that, and that is due to the fact that we have the stony coral tissue loss first reported in June 2019, I believe it was, in northern Belize. Again, for those of you not familiar with the stony coral tissue loss, that's a whole nother topic, but it's a terrible disease that's affecting over 20 species, but it's not affecting the elkhorn and the staghorn, the main fast reef building corals that we've been working with. We are working with other species, and this one on the left here is the pillar coral, which we quite like and is very rare, but sadly also highly susceptible to the disease. So in May, we did some microfragmenting because we had done some of that work with this coral in southern Belize already as a trial experiment, not knowing if they would make it or not because the disease was up there. And then this picture is from, we just went again in December and added 2 nursery sites to Key Cocker, and I'm sad to report, and I didn't put the pictures in, that the disease, that stony coral tissue loss disease, is so prevalent in Key Cocker that we aborted anything but the acropores. We just did not feel comfortable taking a chance with the other species. But so these special trips were made possible with separate small little funders, and also through catamaran donations, which we rely on greatly for these long distance trips where we have to move a bunch of stuff. So we did an actual training course in December. When we went up in May, we were unable to do the outplanting part and work with cement. We just set up the nurseries. And so all of the Marine Reserve staff were eager to learn the outplanting part. So we got a little bit of extra money from SPA, which is something about, oh, I'm so sorry. It's something about special species protection. Oh, I feel really bad. I have to look up the acronym. But anyway, we got, I asked for 10,000 euros and we got 6,000 euros. And that just about covered our trip in December. And we did a formal training. And so because of the limitations with the group size and the smaller catamaran that we had, we couldn't bring everybody we wanted to, but Natasha Gibson and Amir Neal, local Placencia tour guides, have been working with us for over a year, maybe more now, and they never got to do the formal training. So Ms. Wade, the fisheries administrator, was kind enough to let us go ahead and give him a certificate. Amir hasn't gotten his yet, but we were just able to give Tasha's. So we're thrilled that we now have over 70 Belizeans certified in these methods. And I put in this quick picture without masks. Yep. Oh, just back and forth, because isn't that funny? Yes, just for a minute we took off our masks. So now I'm going to hand it over to Emily, or Maya will hand it over to Emily. And Emily, I will ask you to also introduce yourself, assuming that nobody here knows who you are, because they don't. So go ahead and please, if you can let her unmute or unmute herself, and just tell me when you want me to advance the slide, Emily.
Sounds good. So my name's Emily Peterson. I work with Lisa and Dr. Steve Schill. He is with the Nature Conservancy, and I help out with mapping and quantifying the coral and seeing how it changes from year to year. So here we have a few quick slides just to go over what's occurred in 2020. So first off, we mapped 7 keys total this year: Cramp, Crawl, Dales, Lazy, Laughing Bird, Loggerhead, and Moho. And Lisa wanted me to point out really quick that there's a difference between Laughing Bird Key and Moho in that they are replenished reef sites, as opposed to all the other locations are natural stands. And so across those 7 keys, we specifically quantify 3 species of coral: elkhorn, staghorn, and prolifera. And in 2020, we classified over 3,900 square meters of coral. So that isn't the entire area of the key, but those specific spots of elkhorn, staghorn, and prolifera. So that total sum over 2020 was 7,900. Next slide, please. And so I have a slide in here just in case anybody's curious about the methods we use to quantify these corals. The first step is drone work. So that means someone goes out in the field, does a lot of drone flights, and so that's a lot of different separate images, and then we use software on the computer to overlap those and create an orthomosaic, which just means a lot of drone images all quantified into one big image. And so that provides the base data for then me and Dr. Schill to go in, and the second step would be remote sensing post-processing. So we use eCognition computer software to calculate segmentation and supervise classifications to help us understand some of the preliminary patterns in the coral that we can't automatically see with our own eyes. And then the third step would be GIS analysis, or that's where I come in the most. I use QGIS open software tools, and they have a lot of great editing tools where I do manual adjustment, further refinement, and area calculations on the coral. And this picture we have right here is Moho Key. I classified this in 2020, but the imagery is from 2019. And so you can see there was only a cervicornis and a palmata, and we were able to quantify quite specifically what's going on in the key, which is great. Next slide, please. Now, what was really exciting about this year is we were able to do our first change detection, which is really great to see exactly how the outplanning efforts have successfully helped grow the coral. So on the left-hand side is 2019 imagery for Laughing Bird Key, and 2020 is on the right-hand side. And so from 2019 to 2020, I think both of the imageries were taken in July of their respective years. We were able to see about 200 square meters of increase in coral cover from 2019 to 2020, which is great and really awesome to see. Next slide. Now, this is my last slide, just in case anybody's curious. Why do we drone map coral species of interest? And the reason is that mapping these corals allows that specific quantification that really helps us understand accurate counts of coral coverage. And this helps those practicing coral restoration better inform coral outplanting decisions, like where, when, those kinds of things. It really helps us better restore our corals, which is obviously the end goal. And that is the end of my section. I'll mute myself and then Lisa can get back to her presentation. Thank you for having me.
Super, Emily. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Am I back on?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. Thank you. So that was amazing, Emily. And let me just clarify too, what we're looking at now is natural stands. That what is so important about this work is that we have never been fully able to quantify exactly how much coverage we had at Laughing Bird before, right? So when we get to the last slide, you'll see one of the topics we're not talking about tonight is diver-based mosaics. And that is a whole nother talk in and of itself. And that really only allows us to look at up to maybe 200 meters squared of an area and change over time. But that's not the big picture. And now, you know, we've been putting corals at Laughing Bird for so long. Let me just go back and just spend a little more time on that, because this change in coral cover is not about us putting out 200 more meters squared of corals in 1 year. It is about the natural growth and reproduction of these corals given the right conditions. And this is what's so amazing. So what we really want to get to eventually is talk about the minimum that we need to put out and let nature do its course. And so we could do more sites. And so often you hear people talking about we have to put more out, more out, more out. And I'm thinking opposite. Like we want to know the minimum given the right site selection, given the right corals that we choose. Let nature take its course and just reseed places and then sit back and let nature do its thing. And so this is a really powerful tool for us to quantify those results and see what happens over time. What we didn't do yet is the mosaic that we have after this year's Hurricane Category 1 Nana and the bleaching event, but we've done the drone mosaic, we just haven't gotten to the quantification. So this is a tool we plan on using hopefully annually for both the replenished sites and the natural sites. And now we're looking at work that Jamani Balderramos did for us recently. He's a Belizean, returned from a fancy school's name I can't remember in the Netherlands with a master's in looking at coastal planning. And his interest is really in erosion and coastline changes, but we've got him on our team for the moment, which is super. So what he was able to do is look at the mosaics from a natural loggerhead patch. It's near Loggerhead Key, it's not around a key, and quantify the amount of the three different acropod corals, the staghorn, the elkhorn. The prolifera is the hybrid. It's called fused staghorn, which is what you're looking at in this photograph. And I believe what he's circled here is the fact that there are some dead corals. And so part of the problem with satellite imagery, and we've been back and forth with this current MAR Fund grant and actually talking to Steve about this, Dr. Steve Schill from TNC, the Nature Conservancy, the Caribbean division, for years, is the fact that the satellite imagery and certain remote sensing will tell you where a reef is, but you have no idea if that reef is living or not, because it doesn't pick up the spectral image, or you can't tell if it's living or not. I mean, you can see in these images here, you have no idea if this is live or not, but these are reduced for sharing. And so when you look at it close up, you can kind of tell, right? But it doesn't look anything like this is a real underwater picture. So there's a lot of training your eye. Emily had to, get practice with that as well to recognize what the different species look like. So here we did Loggerhead Key in 2019, 1 year later in 2020. And he's just showing here down the difference. Again, this is not a replenished site. This is just natural spread. So clearly these corals, that's what they do naturally. And this is what I believe all restoration practitioners need to focus on, is learning from nature and learning from what's really happening, and use those take-home messages for further our seeding along nature, just boosting nature's efforts. So you can see we had some increases in 1 year. Again, not a restoration site, just a natural stand. But then in 2020, we had Hurricane Nana in early September, Category 1, hit indirect, another whole talk I could give about the impacts, because we did surveys on that. And then bleaching right after that. So many of you know, but maybe some of you don't, that of course, when there's storm damage, it flips corals over or they get shifted. And in semi-normal conditions, those corals could catch and recover. These corals are adapted for high wave energy. But in a case like 2020, which I just spent all that time talking about, it was so hot. There was a lot of mortality, a lot of death. A lot of the corals did not make it because they got exposed, not just to the heat, but the light they're not used to. They got shifted around. On the other hand, as his numbers show here, what do I want to say? Like on the surface, it looks like it might have spread out because they got shifted, they got flattened. These are huge, beautiful staghorn stands. These are like, I mean, amazing, just huge, tall. We've taken a lot of exchange scientists to see these sites. They're just amazing that they still exist. And again, I do believe that practitioners, restoration people in this field need to really focus on, what is out there right now, what's thriving, why it's thriving versus other areas. And this is what we're trying to do. So again, this is a good tool. We're not done with all of this. This is new for us. This is the first time we're sharing all of this, because of course, no meetings this year, no ICRS. The International Coral Reef Symposium had been scheduled for July of this year and is postponed until next year. And as you know, all the regional events have been canceled. So we're excited to share this with you. This is a powerful tool. So again, this is what you're looking at. This is how it looks from the drone. The staghorn doesn't look like normal staghorn, but that's what you get trained to. You learn how to recognize the different coral species with these images. And then here you can clearly see it's white. It's turning bleached white from in October. And so I think that this is something we can explore in the future with other colleagues and students, because another tool, another application of this tool is quantifying the occurrence of the bleaching over wider areas than just those 200 corals per site, as I mentioned. So this should be really powerful for us in the future moving forward. Very exciting for us. So now I'm just going to quickly run through the things that we closed off, and you're seeing triple because we actually had 3 MAR Fund grants almost all at once. One was for Belize, Mexico exchange trip, which I wrote, and when we included Art Gleason, I don't know if he's with us this evening, Dr. Ileana Bombs, the geneticist that we've been using, and Art is the diver mosaic guru expert that we send all our stuff to, but I'm not talking about the diver-based mosaics tonight. And we had several other Mexican scientists and colleagues and other participants. Janie got to come with us on the Belizean side. Ken Niedermeyer, this photograph is from Mexico last year. And then one of the other grants, we used up some of that for a big meeting again last October in Belize City about reef restoration and the stony coral tissue loss disease I mentioned. And the other MAR fund was for the photomosaics work and outplanting in southern Belize. And we also finally closed off a GEF SGP. That's do I need to know those acronyms right now? Small Grants Program, Global Environmental Fund, I think, or we can clarify that later in a message, but they have been super supportive of Fragments of Hope. We've been working with them even prior to that through the Placencia Tour Guide Association and Placencia Producers Cooperative. And that specific grant was really just for outreach about everything we're doing. It involved Sandwatch program with the students, coloring books, puzzles, posters, 2 summer camps, work in the school. And then MCAP stands for Marine Conservation Climate Change Adaptation Program, funded by the World Bank and the adaptation program, I think it is. And that was funding our work for several years in South Water Key Marine Reserve and Turnef Atoll Marine Reserve in northern Belize. And that finished this year, that closed off. But we still have, we have a new MAR Fund grant, and that is allowing the work with Dr. Steve Schill and Emily and Jamani about the mapping. We did start a little early with private donations. We started before we got this MAR Fund grant, and then we have an ongoing World Wildlife Foundation grant, and they have been supporting Fragments of Hope basically since 2009, almost consistently since then. And then PGAFF stands for Paul G. Allen Family Foundation. And part of that is with Vulcan, which some of you may have heard of, these new satellite maps and coral reef maps and all of that stuff. And sorry, we had a small amount with a bunch of different colleagues. And our small amount was specifically for rescue nurseries due to the new stony coral tissue loss, as was the SPA funding. So that we use that for the 2 Northern Belize quote unquote emergency nurseries, and also a bunch of coral sample collection that is still in my freezer because we have no one to send them out. So these are images from the Northern Belize trips, and I think I'm almost done and I'm going over my time. But looking forward to 2021, I wanted to end on a positive note, and that is our images that will be on the cover of the first ever textbook on active coral restoration, which is edited by our colleague and friend, Dr. David Vaughn, who taught us the microfragmenting technique. And the images that he has many chapters in there and case studies from around the world, including ours. And we got elected to have our sort of beginning and end. Well, this is 2011 and 2016 from Laughing Bird Key. And so we're on the cover. So we're excited. We're not sure when that's coming out, but soon. And then we also wished that we had a video to share with you. We've seen the draft. We are partners now with Australia and Mauritius under the Blue Charter Commonwealth. As you know, Belize used to be British Honduras, so we're a part of the Commonwealth nations. And due to a meeting we went to in Mexico, and Ms. Beverly Wade was with us and gave the endorsement to the Commonwealth Secretariat on climate change that yes, we have the government support here. We have been partners since then, and a couple different meetings have happened, and they chose us as a case study to do a video. And we've seen the draft, but I'm not sure when it's coming out. But as soon as it does, we'll be sharing it all over social media because it's really nice. We just filmed some of it in November at Laughing Bird Key. And of course, as usual, I gave them tons of our quote unquote B-roll, you know, the dolphins and the rays and the cool stuff. And we just were asked to do a small case study for the best practices for the European Union on ocean governance. So we're hoping that next year we get more attention. And here's all the things we didn't talk about. And I still took too long. We didn't talk about genetics. We didn't talk about the diver-based photomosaics or the 3D part of that, or how we could calculate rugosity. We didn't talk about sponges, crabs, fishes, tiny fishes, which are cryptobenthic fishes, which we really like, all the little blennies and gobies. We didn't talk about seaweed. We didn't talk about all the other associated biodiversity with the acroporid corals as foundation species, nor the fact that we are hopefully moving towards a national restoration plan, which we have a policy, but we're hoping that with working with our stakeholders and the new government and fisheries department, again, an excellent partner we've had, we'll be able to actually pinpoint our priority sites and have a time frame for where we want to restore in Belize and how we're going to do it. And that will be major because in a lot of places it's been a little willy-nilly, like people just decide to do nurseries or outplant sites for different reasons. But we want to use all of our long-term data and be smart about it. We haven't talked about the Placencia Lagoon and the protection status we want to see happen for that. We haven't talked about water quality. We haven't talked about the Port of Belize expansion or dredging in general, which has been one of my pet peeves for a couple of years now, that because even all the small projects that we see ongoing around us for coastal development are never mitigated properly. And so a colleague was saying, yes, death by 1,000 cuts. So that was part of why we're doing this massive mapping program with the inner keys and reefs near Placencia, because there's just this massive amount of coastal development that's unchecked and unregulated. And yet, as I showed you, we have these amazing stands of healthy, critically endangered corals that should be not threatened by coastal development. We didn't talk about lionfish, and just anecdotally, every time that we go out, we see lionfish all over the place because dive tourism has really been halted here, and it used to be the divers that would go out there and cull these lionfish. And so on all the sites we go, they're just fat and they're eating all of our fish. And so it's another topic for discussion that we should jump on that. And they're good to eat. We all know that, but again, there's just been no tourism this year, so they're not getting culled on the regular basis they used to be. And I'm sure I forgot some other exciting topics. These are a lot of our funders I mentioned, but and this is my contact here, and we have the Fragments of Hope website. But I would be remiss if I didn't say thanks to Maya Trotz. Yay.
Martha, you muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm part of the board. It's such interesting information. I learned a lot from Lisa. She's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Martha.
Yeah.
Valentine Rosado.
Hi everyone, pleasant good night everyone. Congratulations Lisa and the whole rest of the team for another year of keeping the fight up and getting more corals out at sea and involving so much people. Basically, I think that's about it. For those that don't know me, I am based in San Pedro. I'm a scientist. I've been working mostly on policy and management and trying to do research. That's before this whole COVID thing came in and sat us down for a few months, and it's been a little bit slow, but things are slowly, getting back on track, and I think that everyone feels the same way. So it's good to kind of catch up, and I do believe that this year we're going to be working a lot more close with Lisa, and we have a group of youth leaders that we're training as the next generation of scientists and leaders in the community, and we have been waiting for Fragments of Hope to come to Placencia. Our senior trainer and community research has done the training, and we know that this year we're going to be working a lot more on some of the projects to kind of fill in the gaps between the marine protected areas.
Lisa, I've got to go, so I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. My role in all this is to complicate Lisa's life enormously.
No, you're a big support, Les.
Okay, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Happy holidays. Thanks for joining, Les.
Yeah, see you guys.
Justin.
Oh, hey, I'm Justin. I'm a professor at Bowdoin College in Maine in the United States, where we have 2 feet of snow right now.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, so it's been really, really fun to see what's going on down in Belize and know that Lisa and everybody are doing really great work. So yeah, I'm a collaborator, I guess. I do a little bit of science with Lisa and team, and hopefully there's more grant writing and science in the future when I know where I'm actually going to be next year. If anybody knows somebody who needs a professor, drop me an email.
Oh,
Thank you, Justin. See, that was one of the topics I didn't even put down, is all of our different collaborators. So, and sadly, COVID has affected that greatly. So, hopefully
Janie.
we'll figure that out in the future. Janie,
Philip's son.
is Janie there?
Yeah, Janie's there.
you know, Zoom is not limiting your time right now over the holidays.
No, but if everyone else can mute their mic and just let the people introducing, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Janie. I'm a professor at Florida State, but I've spent the last 9 months in Vermont, and cold, yes, cold, snow, and I work on sponges, and they keep the water clean and clear, and they glue corals on the reef and protect them from their bioeroder enemies. And they add spectacularly beautiful colors and intriguing shapes to the reef. And I just can't wait to get back to Belize and underwater.
And how long have you been coming to Belize, Janie?
Since 1977.
Wow.
At which time I was so in love with Belize. I was driving through in a little yellow pickup truck, and I'd fell so immediately in love with Belize that there was an ad for a headmistress at a Methodist girls' school in Belize City, and I've got to apply. I got to do something so I can stay here. But anyway, that isn't what I ended up doing. I ended up studying sponges, and that was a better, in the end, a better choice, more useful, the bigger picture.
Well, the
It's
borders are
lovely to see
open,
you all.
Janie. We're waiting for you. Whenever you're
Lovely
ready.
to see you all, even in this thumbnail way.
Thanks, Janie. Gary?
Hi, I'm Gary Baresta, part-time station manager at Caribou Key. My normal time is December, and I would be coming back on the boat tomorrow, and I'm crushed that I'm not there right now. I've been in touch with Zach, the program manager there, and he hasn't had a lot to say because we just don't know. There's like basically the Smithsonian is throwing their hands up and saying, we don't know what's going to happen. So we're all looking forward to coming back, but I don't have any specific information on when or, when that might happen, except for it will when we can. I also work with, I manage the Global Change Research Wetlands for the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland. And I'm astounded that global change, the political climate, that we're actually a victim of our own success. If anything, I went from one experiment in 1990 to 7 major funded experiments on the marsh there. So there's still hope for, funding in global change research in the environment. So that's the good news, if any, that I got. Thanks.
One of my lovely memories of Caribou and Christmas is Gary practicing to play Silent Night on his guitar, which is how Silent Night was first performed. And we were there at Christmas, and he was practicing a way to make sure he could render that in perfection.
He has a band now, so maybe we might get to dancing later.
Not to rub it in, guys, but we were just there last Wednesday, and they were fixing up the satellite and everything else as well. The famous outhouse is gone from Hurricane Nana in September, and it had some roof damage. But the Smithsonian is definitely a Fragments of Hope partner, and some of you may not know it was my first job ever in Belize. It's how I got my first work permit, was as a volunteer research assistant at Caribou Key when Klaus Rulitzer was running the show with Mike Carpenter. And so that was my my entry, and my first long-term field work was at Caribou. And I'm so thrilled that we're still up there, and hopefully we'll keep working up there. So I hope you guys can make it back soon. Go right ahead, Maya.
Jamani?
Hi everyone, my name is Jamani Balderramos. As Lisa mentioned, hi Lisa. I'm a recent graduate of a coastal engineering program from the Netherlands, and I've been fortunate enough to start working with Lisa. Lisa has kind of roped me in, and she's not letting me go and keeping me busy, which I really appreciate. And I'm learning about the coral, and I think for the future, like my interest would be learning how to quantify the contributions of coral reefs as a shoreline protection, as a nature-based solution. So I'm kind of trying to gear my interests in that direction.
We need to recruit you for your PhD.
Hopefully.
For sure. John?
Hi. I am a newcomer here, I guess. I would be so bold as to say I don't work with you all yet. If you ever need something run with numbers, that is right up my alley. I live and breathe actuarial science and statistics.
Super, thanks for joining.
And John is from Barbados.
Super.
Oh my God, I need to talk to him about the crocodile management program for the country, because stats is not my thing.
Okay, once it's not crocodile management for Barbados, because I can tell you we're good for that.
Esther?
Is Esther here?
Yes, yes. Esther, you're on mute. You're on mute, Esther. Let me see if I could unmute her. Oh, Art just joined too. Ask her to unmute. No, Esther, you're still muted. Okay, you're.
Yeah. Hi.
Esther, hi. Yay!
Lisa.
Been so long.
I'm a professor at George Mason University. I've been studying corals from the inside out for many years. I look at their diseases and reproduction and that sort of thing. I did my postdoc at Caribou, which is how I got to Belize originally. Haven't been back, but would love to. But I have worked on some corals from Lisa that you sent me, and hope that all the work you keep doing keeps going. Great.
Thank you so much for joining. It's really nice to see you. I think it's been since Curacao. Is that right? That meeting in Curacao? I don't know what year that was.
I see Ceci Castillo has to leave, so if
let her talk. Let her talk.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask her. If she could still unmute.
Hi guys.
Hi. Oh,
I love the energy from the group. Lisa, thank you for inviting me. My wine is almost finished, by the way.
Is that why you gotta go?
But I do need to leave. But I want to congratulate all of you for the wonderful work you have been doing with the reef restoration work. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to have seen some of your work firsthand earlier this year. And I'm here, Lisa, for anything you need.
Before you go, just tell everyone who you are and what you do, because not everybody knows you.
I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Ceci Castillo. I'm a lecturer at the University of Belize. And I met Lisa through some freelancing consultancy work that I also do here in Belize. So Lisa, I look forward to working with you closer next year, as well as Maya and the rest of your team.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. Victor.
Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Victor. I've been working at Fragments of Hope a few years now. It's been amazing to learn from Lisa with the work she's been doing and going back to your sites and what I call my babies or our babies. It's been wonderful to see them growing. And also, thanks everyone for giving me the opportunity and voting me to be a board member at Belize. Thank you very much. And it's been amazing work, and I hope to get to know more of you in the future. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Vic.
Merry
Hey,
Christmas,
Vic.
Vic. My screen shifted around. Marissa?
Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Crocodile Research Coalition. We're based here on the Placencia Peninsula, and our mission is to promote crocodile conservation, but also conservation of their habitat and adjacent wildlife through research, management, and education. We've been working pretty closely with Lisa in regards of, we have a lot of overlapping interests especially when it comes to lagoon. So, anyone that comes down to Placencia in the future, I'll probably end up meeting you in one way or another, and I will be happy to take you on a crocodile eye shine and introduce you to some of the wonderful wildlife in the lagoon.
Marissa, quickly tell us about your exciting new groundbreaking center, what you'll be doing with it on the other side of the lagoon.
Yeah, so we were able to get some funding to be able to buy land on the western side of the lagoon. And so we have 25 acres. And so we will be establishing a research lab as well as a wildlife clinic. For those of you that might not know, there's only one wildlife clinic in country, and that's about 3.5 hours away. So right now the CRC, we have our own little wildlife triage center, but there's a young Belizean that is going to vet school right now who's going to end up being our vet when she graduates in about 2 years. So we'll have a vet clinic here, a research lab, and one of our next ventures is to create a environmental science center that's almost like a kid science center, so very Belizean based. And so we're hoping just to kind of build a further interest in regards of conservation and wildlife in this particular area, especially more hands-on.
So sorry, one more thing I did not put on the topics we did not discuss, and that is marine mammal and turtle strandings. And so some of you know, we have a bunch of buried marine mammals, and what a cool Les is gone, so we don't have to listen to his version of this. But what a cool idea, what a learning cool thing it would be if we could, what's the proper terms? Dig those up and put them together for the public, for learn about these animals, which is a side of another thing we didn't discuss. So let's move right along. Maya's doing the following through. Who's next? Thank you, Marissa. Thank you for joining us. Haven't seen you in a while, even though you live right up the road.
Dave?
Dave.
Yes, thanks. First I want to say, ho, ho, ho. And what a wonderful program this was. You guys did a wonderful job. I'm learning from you all of what it takes to have a foundation that is trying to restore corals and do community outreach. And I'm learning from you guys. So my kudos to all. And, I felt bad that I couldn't come to Belize this year.
Wait, Dave, maybe not everybody knows who you are, even though they should. So maybe just start with that.
Not Santa?
Santa is, I basically have a checkered past from doing early coral work to recirculating aquaculture, scale up for Harbor Branch Oceanographic for 17 years, to then working with Moat Marine Lab for 15 years as its executive director and working on the coral restoration. But I have retired 2 years ago and started Plant a Million Corals. And as Lisa said, wrote the book with some wonderful authors on active coral restoration. And I couldn't think of a better cover than the Fragments of Hope before and after pictures that you've been so successful with. And, basically you're a landmark. So it's the way to do things right, and has been doing it for a long time. And I hope to help out in some form or fashion more and more as time goes on. And here's to you, Lisa and Maya, and the whole Fragments of Hope group. You guys rock.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, nice to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Happy holidays. It's been a while. You better get that boat in the water, Dave.
Yeah, I'm working on it today, so I hope to as well. So for everybody else, I'm building one of the first catamarans that is totally solar powered and electric driven. And Lisa has shown that you can do microfragmentation on a catamaran out on the site. You don't necessarily need a land-based facility. And so you can do that work on a vessel. And so vessels, I think, are the new floating nursery labs to augment, direct planting and get her done. And that's what you guys have shown. So thank you very much. And I hope to be there soon as I get a vaccination.
Cornelia?
Hi, yeah, I'm kind of a newbie to the coral world. I'm a third-year PhD student in Ileana Baum's lab at Penn State, where we also have about 1.5 feet of snow. Right now, Lisa, you know me because I do some of the grunt work for you and Ileana at the bench.
Nice to see your face.
Yeah, but most of my work is focused on looking at hybrids and hybrid gene expression and morphology, and looking at how egg and sperm interact to make hybrids. So we'll see how that goes, though, seeing as already my plants have been spiraled down from COVID.
Thank you so much for joining, Cornelia.
Yeah.
Art?
Hello, everyone. Art Gleason here. I'm from the
We want to see you.
I don't know how to make that happen.
Yes, you do.
Hey, I thought it was showing earlier.
Come on, we don't see you a good while. Just turn off.
It was showing before.
Turn off your little video at the bottom or something.
There he is. Hi, Art. Hi, Art.
Can you hear me though?
Happy yes. Happy
Yeah,
holidays.
okay. I've never. Okay, you'd think I'd know how to do this by now.
Okay. Remember, tell us first. Not everybody knows who you are.
Right, Art Gleason from the University of Miami. I've been helping or privileged to be participating a little bit in this Fragments of Hope adventure since 2014, making some underwater mosaics of these beautiful sites, and it's been a joy to be able to help with that. I'm so thrilled with how far you've come and how successful you've been, and it's just an honor to be part of this whole thing. So anyway, continuing to help as I can with that aspect of it, and open to anyone else who's on the call who needs help with advice on how to use mosaics for coral reef restoration or research or just fun imaging.
Art, please tell us your fancy real title, because I can never remember it, and what you really, really do.
What I really, really do?
Yeah.
I'm a associate professor in the physics department, and that's my title. And what I really, really do is you work with underwater images in all sorts of forms. Is that what you mean?
Don't you also write software and do all that fancy stuff with it?
Yeah, I write a lot of software too. Yes.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining
Merry
us.
Christmas. Yeah, thank you, Lisa.
And thanks for coming to Belize in 2018, and hopefully you're gonna come next year if everything goes well, right?
Yeah, well, yes, I'd love to.
Super.
We need to make it happen.
We will.
Thanks, Art. Jason?
Sorry. Hi.
Long time.
How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm Jason Spadaro. I'm a assistant professor at the College of the Florida Keys, and my research focuses on crabs and mediating algal cover on reefs to support coral restoration.
Jason is our crab hero. For those of you that don't know, I'll toot your horn for you. He did not one, but 2 year-long experiments in Florida that showed by introducing, am I saying it right? The Spinosystemis crab, the big double channel clinging crab that we all love to eat in Belize. By introducing these two sites, it reduced the macroalgae cover by up to 80%, right? And also allowed more coral recruits and for some reason, more fish and more diverse fish. So you I was waiting forever for your publication. So yay, we can finally cite you and quote you. And that was on my slide of things we didn't talk about, because if people hang on for a minute more, if we get through the introductions, we want to talk about having webinars in the future on different subjects, because all of these could be somebody's project, or you know what I mean? Like when COVID now and everything too, there's so many ways we could do things remotely and get more people engaged. So let me go to the other people before we're losing people as we speak. So let's get through the introductions, and thank you again, everybody, for joining. This was first time we're doing this, super exciting. Who's next? Thank you, Jason. So good to see you.
Thanks, Jason. I see Maya Preeb.
Maya.
You're on mute.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maya, and my family's lived in Placencia since the early 80s, and basically I just help Lisa wherever she needs help.
Yes, she's an accountant too, which we could use you right here, helping with accounting. So for those of you that know Placencia history, like Mom, if you're still on here, this is Kitty's daughter from Kitty's Place, one of the first resorts in Placencia. And Maya and I have been friends since like 1995 when I first came, or
yeah, I think so.
Here, something like that. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Nice flower. I like it.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.
And then Dad, are you still there?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Well, I am Maya's dad.
You are more than
I have,
that. You are more than that.
yeah, I'm Deputy Director and Science Advisor to the Regional Climate Change Center. I've been that for the last 15 years, but I'm demitting office at the end of this month. And my greatest regret, Lisa, is that we haven't been able to get that support for you from the Green Climate Fund. We put in that proposal for coral restoration in the Caribbean since 2015. And 5 years later, we haven't had a cent from the GCF.
I'm aware of that.
This despite the fact that the 1.5 degree report tells us that in a business as usual scenario, coral reefs, we lose 75% of our coral reefs by 2040. It's as close as that. That is when we are likely to hit 1.5 degrees rather than at the end of the century. And 2 decades later, 2 degrees is likely that all our reefs would disappear. So there's no urgency. They're talking about ecosystem-based adaptation, but I can't understand why the work that you are doing and your colleagues can't get the support. It's the only thing going for coral reefs that we know about at this point in time. But anyway, I'm leaving. Best of luck. I'll be around Belize. You might see a bit more of me in Placentia now that I'm leaving the center. But I am committed to continue to work to get you the type of support I think you deserve, you and your group. You're doing some wonderful work. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Merry Christmas to everyone. And a safe holidays.
Thank you.
And Lisa, maybe next year you might teach me to dive.
Yes, man. What? We got some clear bottom kayaks too. We can paddle you out there, no problem.
Okay.
Better you just move to
Okay.
Placentia one time.
Chrisanne, thanks, Dad.
Oh, hi. So I'm Chrisanne. I'm a second year PhD student at the University of South Florida. So I don't actually work with Fragments of Hope. I'm one of Dr. Trotz's students because I'm an anthropologist, but I recently started doing research with coral reefs and stuff. So it was really awesome to just be able to listen in and hear more about Fragments of Hope and just what everyone's doing. So yeah, it's nice to meet everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you for joining us. Did Maya make you do it?
No, she did. No, she just posted about it and I was like, oh, this seems cool. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Happy holidays.
And Victor Ack. Is that a different Victor? Or is the same Victor?
That's a different Victor. Is Mickey still on here?
Mickey S.
Is she still here? I thought she left.
Yeah, I think she came back. Well, we'll move to Mickey.
I was about to drop actually.
What?
Actually came back only for a second. I'm in the dark, so you probably can't see me.
Well, put on your camera.
We can see you.
I haven't seen you. I don't see you.
Lights on. Hi, everyone. I'm a really old friend of Lisa's. I know absolutely nothing about anything about coral restoration. Hi, sweetie. Or anything like that. I'm just in the numbers. So you throw up the graph and I get really excited about the graph. So I'm just here to support my friend, my longtime friend. Love you, miss you. Mwah. Bye,
Love
everyone.
you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays to your family.
And Chantel.
Hi, good night, everyone. So I'm actually based in Jamaica. I follow Fragments of Hope on Twitter and I saw the the invitation extended about the Zoom. But unfortunately, I missed a significant amount of it because I went diving today and just got back in not too long ago. But I am based on the south coast of Jamaica. I work at the Marine Lab that the University of the West Indies operates. I deal with SciComm, but I'm also registered as an MPhil student looking at coral reef restoration via artificial reefs. So I'm really just been immersing myself in some of the different projects, learning about, what's going on in different countries and seeing how best we can get something going on this side of the Caribbean.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. We're recording, so we'll send a link afterwards. And I've been to Jamaica 3 or 4 times now, but never on the South Coast. So we've been to Discovery Bay. We've worked with Orcabessa. Help me out, Maya.
Boscobel.
Boscobel.
Right, with Dr.
And
Ross.
and that
Andrew Ross.
further, I went to that further north one too.
That would be Negril.
No, the private,
Alligator Head.
the rich people that have that private house place, and then
Alligator Head.
Alligator Head.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yes, so I'm working with Dr. Palmer. We semi-met at AMLC last year, Lisa. But definitely want to keep in contact and just bounce some ideas maybe in the future and see what's going on in Placencia as well.
Great.
For sure. We're going to get a research vessel. Maya, right? We're going to get a research vessel so we don't have to get on no planes no more. We could just drive around the Caribbean in a boat, in a research boat. Right, Dave? Is he still here? And then we can microfragment everywhere we go. He gone?
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Happy holidays.
Abigail.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Abigail.
Hi, good night, everyone. Happy holidays to everybody. I don't work. Oh, my camera, hold on. You can see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, good. So just saying hi to everyone. Lisa, as usual, you did an excellent job on the presentation, and I'm jealous you right now because I don't have any wine on me right now. But sooner rather than later. Anyway, I'm a teacher here at Independence Junior College. It's a local college here in the Stan Creek district. It's right near Placencia. We just take a boat ride across to go over to Fragments of Hope, and from there we go out to the Keys. I did some work with Lisa, actually with Fragments of Hope, let me see. But in Belize, we usually say with Lisa. So I did some work with Fragments of Hope, where we went out and we executed a Sunwatch program, where we basically educated children from the Placencia Peninsula, included St. Bite Village and Placencia Village. We looked at, what corals are, a variety of topics actually, and we included in that seagrass and mangroves as well, as they play key roles in helping with the health of coral reefs. It was a really wonderful opportunity for my students at the junior college because they were able to come on to the program and also get training and then executed what they learned to those students. So it was really a wonderful thing for my students and I to participate. We look forward to more activities with Fragments of Hope, and I'm hoping for everything positive within this region and by extension our country. So happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Abby. I'm gonna give you the reminder for buy your alcohol before 6. For non-Belizeans on here, we have new rules where they cannot sell any alcohol after 6 p.m. for whatever reason. So
I completely forgot. So I'll make it up tomorrow and I'll take a picture and send Phil.
All right.
Send for you to Maya. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Veli Williams.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We
can't. Oh, okay. Hi. Well,
you.
I'm from Belize. I'm from San Pedro. I study veterinary. And what am I supposed? I'm sorry. I kind of joined in late. and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say.
Just tell us who you are and why you're here, and great if you turn on your camera.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I am doing it. Didn't you put out?
I'm trying to, but I really can't. Wait, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Do you work with Brittany? Are you one of the students that works with Brittany?
Yes, I work with Brittany, yes. Here in with the Marine Apprentice, with the Marine Apprentice program.
And are you also a UB student or?
No, I am studying in Mexico City. I study veterinary medicine. I don't know why I can't put on my camera. Sorry.
Nice.
I study veterinary medicine. Right now I'm taking a pause because of all this COVID. My parents aren't working, so they can't pay for the tuition right now. But in January, I'm going back, hopefully. I'm here because of Mr. Valentine had sent me the link to the Zoom, so I just stopped by in to see what
was going on. Super.
Yes.
So maybe Maya, can you do Brittany next if she's still there? Because
Yeah, Brittany is next.
Brittany could maybe explain about the group that she's referring to.
Yes.
In San Pedro, which is northern Belize for non-Belizeans.
Brittany, you want to go?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. My name is Brittany Garbut. For some reason, the camera won't come on. I guess it's because I'm on mobile. But yes, I'm in San Pedro. I am a student from UB studying for marine biology. And I once took a little training session with Miss Lisa to see how she plants fragments of coral. And I was so fascinated about it. It's one of the things I want to study for my thesis, which would be the mapping of the aquaporas. Kind of want to do that here in San Pedro, which is again in northern Belize for the non-Belizeans. What Veli was talking about, the Marine Apprentice group, is a group where we're trying to get it started by Mr. Valentin Rosado. It's a group where we're trying to get youths interested in becoming leaders. Most of us in the group are individuals that are closer to the water, but we do have people like Veli and also Victor Ack. So we have Veli with veterinary, Victor Ack with IT. The rest of us deal with either marine biology or tourism. So we're all kind of close to the water. And it's a youth group who are interested in becoming future leaders, but are also interested in learning about our resources we have, our natural resources, specifically our reef for right now. And that's really about it in general.
Super, Brittany. I wish we could have seen you, but thank you for joining us, and let's definitely keep in touch. For other people's information, Brittany was certainly first on our list to be invited on the December trip we just took up there, but she had exams at UB.
I did.
She did, and it's not the first time that we've had that little humbug or that little issue with trying to include the University of Belize students. We're in Placencia. They have a Punta Gorda, Belmopan, Belize campus, but many times their schedule is so brutal with exams and classes and stuff, and they can't take the time when we want to invite them. And then, as many of you know, our field work is so very much weather dependent that it's often a last minute call or just a few days in advance. So it doesn't always work as much as people might think it should or could to include our local university students. And it's not like we haven't been trying since '06. So hopefully we figure this out with COVID changing things. Maybe that is one thing that will change and free up some of the students time with more virtual classes and things like that. At least I hope so. And that one would be one positive outcome. Thank you, Brittany. Did we do everybody? Is there anybody that we haven't got? We lost a lot of people.
Mr. Ely.
Who?
You're on mute.
Hi, Maya.
Oh, Glenn. Hi, Glenn.
How you doing, Lisa?
I'm on my, I'm going to fill my wine in a minute.
Oh, good.
I'm not out.
Well, good. We appreciate what you do, Lisa. Thanks for being a part of our community, and you have an excellent partner in Maya.
Glenn, just remind people that may not know who you are.
Okay. Okay, I'm Glenn Ely. I am Martha's husband. I was born and raised in Placencia and fished for a living from very young. And I've had the opportunity to volunteer my services in many aspects. I've served on the GEF SGP Small Grants Program for 19 years. I serve as the local mayor. It's thankless and payless, I must add, for 5 consecutive terms. But I also work with the Placencia Seaweed Group as much as I can. So I do continue to volunteer, and every bit of work that I see Lisa's have done really gives me a lot of hope, because I think that once we keep our heads together here, we'll get something out of this. So I do appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and everybody who volunteers, whatever little. Thanks to Martha, my wife. Of course, she works with Lisa mostly on the board. So thanks.
Super. Franco, just say something.
Hi, Merry Christmas.
We can't see him. He has to come closer. He has to come closer. Oh, there you go.
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Where is he? Where is he? Where is he?
In tomorrow.
Hi,
Oh, you
Franco.
mean-
Merry Christmas.
Lisa, you mean the guy that is colorblind? You mean the guy that is colorblind?
Corners.
Can you see him or not? So Franco is also an unsung hero. He is like if he had a salary, he'd be like operations manager, because he takes care of all the equipment, all the gear, all the trucks, all the dive gear, the saws that we use. I mean, every little thing, and running errands all the time. And one day, hopefully, we'll get a salary. Franco. I think that we should organize webinars on different topics that we didn't discuss. And would we get, what do we have tonight, Maya? We only had like 30, 40 people, and we had almost 70 registered. So I was telling her, it's just like when we have RSVPs for real life events, half of them people with RSVP now show up.
Hola.
Right? So
Yeah.
you never know, right? But we had a pretty good crowd tonight, but we did not advertise on Coral List. We did not advertise in a lot of places. We just really with me and Maya's personal social network and the Fragments of Hope social network. So art is still here, and that's something we discussed for the future. Like, do we want to hold webinars? And I have mixed feelings, because there's been so many gosh darn webinars, so many Zoom calls, and it's like it also gets kind of tiring, you know. It's just like there's so many online events. What would we do that would make ours special? You know, would we do it once a month? Would we is that something you think we should pursue, just for the few people hanging on?
Lisa,
we get feedback.
I could give you a little bit of feedback. I think the webinars are a good idea, but if they would be more effective if they're focused on a specific topic. If you're talking about crabs and algae, then the webinar is just on that. But the more you try to package into it, and the more people you try to invite, then and the more frequent you do it, then you kind of lose people. But if it's very specific like that, you know, you would get interest. And you had a good crowd tonight. And what's happening here is just like when you have the workshops out there in the village council, you start with 30, and by the end of the night you have 5. The same thing happened right here, right? So no way that that you're losing people, because the same thing would happen in those. Once the presentation is done, you have a certain crowd that tend to say, okay, I listened to the presentation and gone off. and then others would, kind of hang back. But, that would be like my advice. I think the webinars are a good idea. I definitely would want to hear on some of those topics that you said that weren't covered here. And I'm sure that there are other people, and even the ones that didn't attend, would be interested in those topics.
Right. So then the next quick question though, should it be in the evening hours or during business hours?
Or on the weekend.
Yeah, because a lot of we had all these fisheries department people sign up, and I don't see none of it. I saw some of it on here earlier, and then they gone. And it's evening, and they're on holiday, right? And a lot of people, university and government people, are on official holiday. I love Emil Charrington, a Belizean at NASA. He wrote me offline. He's like, "Thanks for the invite, but I am going offline. I'm on vacation." So, should we do this during working hours next year? Like if we were going to do it once a month, should it be working hours so that those government and NGO people and students or whatever, it could be a part of your classes and not an evening thing? Because we used to always do public consults in the evening because, well, quite frankly, we used to always bring booze and food so we could get the crowd out after their work day. But times have changed. We can't do that again. So
I can't tell you how you would do it, but I can tell you if you do it during work hours, you're gonna get that audience. You're not gonna get students and other people because they would be in classes, doing testing, exams, working. And if you do evening sessions, then you would get this crowd, but you wouldn't get that government people, or those people that look at it as a job, right? They would have to do it during their working hours, and they would not sign into these things outside of their working hours. So that would have to be, I think, 2 sessions if you want to, think about it that way. But definitely still make sure that it's recorded. So if anyone misses it, then they can still access the recording.
Yeah. Lisa, I was just going to say, I was about to compliment what Valentine is saying, that I don't think that counting the people just in your Zoom chat is an accurate reflection of how many people you reach, because the Facebook video may be reached by other people outside of their working hours or when they have time to go back and review the videos.
Right, but I mean, so it's a question of just presenting information versus having a discussion, right? So that's the difference too. Like Maya, I don't have Zoom. This is Maya's Zoom. That's why we have to give thanks and praises to Maya, because this is a meeting Zoom, and a webinar Zoom is different and costs different monies, and it doesn't allow for people to talk or speak as they want. It's just, it's like as we move forward in the future, do we want to just have meetings or webinars? And I'm seeing in the chat that most people are saying in the evenings. So I think we could plan on that. And then, like you said, record it. And then that way it's there for posterity's sake. And, just like I said, all those topics we didn't get to touch on, every single one of those could be a whole meeting in and of itself.
Well, I think Lisa, just in terms of the topics, but also sort of all of the different expertise and people who work on various aspects in Belizeans and non-Belizeans. And so you could layer it to say, here are all these different pieces, and we're going to have this presentation. So we might learn about photo mosaics from Art. We might learn about drones from Steve and Emily. But so it's like a whole series, and I think we could curate it so that the presentations are not an hour long, but much shorter, and then we can have like a smaller group in there to sort of ask questions and stuff like that. So it's not like a full lecture, but like smaller sort of informational things, and so that it not only promotes the work that is being done by FoH, but and the people speaking, but also how others can replicate.
I see you're on your way to get a boat though, Lisa.
No, we are not on our way to get a boat. It's just a pipe dream. So here's the pipe dream. I'll tell you really quickly. The pipe dream is like something like the Aggressor, like a 125 foot liveaboard with capacity of like 20 people plus crew that could, have its own wet lab, dry lab, fill it tank. However, it's a big dream because I understand the operating costs alone are like $5,000 US a day. But the vision, that's what I've heard. But the vision is the vision is that it would, we could employ Belizeans because we have a very small handful that are licensed to drive those big boats and engineers. And why not get more Belizeans trained to do that, where they could be, it could be a full-time research vessel, not me living out there, but rotating just like the dive liveaboards do. And then here's the real fantasy. It could be a boat that could respond to remote areas for storms and also throughout the Caribbean. And it could be an educational tool so that we could hold 2 to 3 week long courses for Belizeans, for, don't let me say this wrong, but for the rich non-Belizean academic students that would pay for a 2 to 3 week course abroad with one of our specialists that we have so many of. Many of them are not here tonight. You know, genetics and sponges, people that love all these different things. I mean, we could have like a whole curricula. And if that tuition cost for those foreigners to come on the boat for a couple of weeks was smart and covered a Belizean participant to be subsidized, then we could have Belizean students also getting that experience and trained. It is a total pie in the sky fantasy.
No, it's not. Not totally, but I mean,
it is.
it could
I
be
mean,
an assessment vehicle also. Can it be like when there's a damage to the reef?
Yes,
you
and
can
like
go
a
out
mobile
and
restoration thing. Yes, all of that, all of
spend a
that.
lot of money.
But here's the catch: we want it to be like they have said, energy efficient, you know, not fossil fuels, do the right thing with the sewage. So all of that is super complicated over my head, you know, like how would you fill tanks? I mean, all of this stuff, right? Not to mention the cost. But so thank you, Art. I see you leaving. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, you got the disc. Yay. Let's catch up after the holidays, Art. Thank you so much for your time. Really nice to see you. Catch up soon. Anyway, that's the fantasy one day that we would have this research vessel and we could go to Cuba, we could go to Jamaica, we could go to the Bay Islands, we could go to Turnef, we could go to Lighthouse, we could go wherever we need to go. And we have trained Belizeans that are rotating, that have these capacities, you know, built. They're able to drive these large boats. They have the licensing, they can be the engineers, they can be the crew, just like the liveaboard dive boats, but better, because we'd also have all this research and education and restoration components. So there you go, people, figure it out, go find the money.
Dream alive. I see this gentleman in the bottom here. What did he, what's his name, John?
Jason.
I see John Hunter. On this side. That's what the money. You said you
don't pronounce the E. Yes, I know.
Oh, don't pronounce the E.
I don't
Sorry.
know where the where 5,000 US a day would come from. That's
I
the one I
don't
haven't
know.
figured out. When I do figure it out, I'll let you know.
Aren't you the numbers
man
guy?
I want to talk to.
Yeah.
That's the man I want to talk
The
to.
numbers guy.
The numbers guy.
Numbers guy.
You got to work out the numbers.
Why would it be 5,000 US a day to maintain a boat?
I don't know. Les left. That's what Les and Ileana told me. Like an average research vessel costs that much in operating costs alone. But the other thing the guys here that we talked to, like some of you know, Erwin Westby wanted to do was put in the mooring buoys for these large vessels that then every other private boater would use throughout Belize too. Because as some of you may or may not know, we don't have any proper buoy program for people to tie up to, and they throw their anchor everywhere they go. So, and we have a lot of private boats. So there's just a lot of different, what do you call it? Like, angles that we could approach with this thing. But yeah, it's big people thing, a big money thing. I don't know how to jump to that. I can't even like hire nobody full time. So what am I talking about? So
I think the research vessel boats, I'll put one in here. I think those might be more expensive than like a cat thing.
That was my point, Maya. I mean, I keep the dream alive.
The biggest cost for those things is the wage bill. Like you can't have a captain put those boats on you know, on a call basis. You have to have them on a retainer or stuff like that. Then the people that the mechanics, you know, so the wage bill is the highest in addition to operations.
Right, but I mean that happens. There are liveaboard dive boats everywhere, right? So it's not
But they
an
pay
unheard
their
of concept.
captains. Yeah.
Right, they pay their captains, and
Like
so
out here. Like you have them on
exactly
on
on a rotating basis, right? But so the idea is we need an economics person that would do the numbers to say how many foreign rich students, sorry if I say it, from Boston University or whatever Ivy League university that's left us is
We
gonna
need
come
more
down
wine.
and pay for that experience. And we could have several of these courses throughout the year with different topics, and then budget it such that if we have 10 non-Belizeans, we can at least subsidize 2 Belizean students too, as well as having the trained Belizean staff, right? So we
But
just
can't we-
need what do we need? We just need a big investor like Valentine. Where's your connection with that movie star dude? That's what we need.
On a serious note, maybe we can look at the staffing from a different note. There are a bunch of people who are semi-retired, you know, who may volunteer their services for those high cost of running the vessel that may come down and rotate in 6 months to learn a new area.
That's true.
So we can look at the physical aspect of the vessel first, and then the staffing. You may be surprised at how many people would look at this such a great idea and say, you know what, I'll volunteer 6 months of my time, blah, blah, blah. So just to throw that in terms of.
That's exactly what Caribou
Yeah.
does.
Exactly.
What Caribou does is they use retired people that come down and do the station manager rotation. But obviously you need a different skill set, and they would have to train Belizeans, so that the idea in the long term is that we'd be providing jobs for Belizeans and not relying on retired experts or whatever, right? So,
Yeah, it'll be a while. Yeah. So
No.
I do appreciate your look, though, your outlook on it, Lisa. But I still think that maybe we could, you know, approach it from a little semi stuff, a little smaller, and then you can maybe expand to something larger. I like the idea where that gentleman talked about his vessel as a catamaran.
Yeah.
Maybe you can look for some support system in areas that you have to work from a smaller scale while you work to the bigger picture. And you know, so I love the idea very much.
You know, Lisa, for about 6 months of the year, you have Belizean tour guides and Belizean sailors, Belizean boat captains who pretty much are unemployed, you know, in low season for tourism. They might be willing to volunteer sometime or even work for a small salary when the boat have to go out.
You know.
yeah, it's just a lot of things to tackle. The vessel, making it PC.
Sound like we have a vessel.
I mean, I don't even have any full-time staff right now, guys. It's a total pie in the sky thing, right? But
no, it's not. It's
but
not.
But like all these years, Glenn, as you know, I'm the kind of person that says everything out loud. You have some people who have the attitude like they don't want to say it out loud because they don't want somebody to steal their idea, or they don't want somebody give you shit for not following through. Well, I the opposite. I want to say it out loud all the time because then people know about it. Even if I don't get it done, maybe it happens. And then also I see Endor, hi. Hi. And then also people hold you to it. Like, hey, what happened to that idea you had about farming crabs in Belize, Jason? What happened to that? You know what I mean? Like, if you keep talking about it, hopefully somebody does it, or they hold it to it, or they think about you when they see a funding source or something. So that's why I bring it up. I bring it up because I'm half joking, but it also is like I said, it's a dream. What a dream it would be.
A good dream, though. It's a good dream, and it's a doable dream if you approach it from the aspect where you start as small as you possibly can get away with. That would reduce your headache, because thanks for inviting me on some of your trips, and I learn a lot. The logistics is harder on you, and I can appreciate what you told me. And the last trip that we made, when we saw those beautiful dolphins jumping out the water and everything, when we went to Chernev.
Oh yeah, you were on that trip. Yeah. Trip, yeah.
You know, from that day, it keep ringing in my mind. I said, it's a wonderful idea, and there is ways that if you talk enough about it, somebody may be able to throw in something from the different angle that can make it possible, and ease that big pressure and you moving, and so that you can concentrate on those beautiful coral reef like pictures behind you, and take away a lot of the logistic works off of you, because it seems to me that's where we should be going with this. You know what I mean?
We
You
could
need
do
to
a
really focus on
crowdsource.
yourself.
We could do a crowdsource event or activity.
Yeah, see?
There you go.
That's a lot of money, guys.
No, to sort of
the
have people to
dream.
like build and ideate and design it, and then make it happen.
But I will tell you all before
I'm
we
with
leave
you, Maya.
for the short term, I just want to talk to the guys about this. For Silk Keys, I was pleasantly surprised last week that the microfragments we put out in a super, super shallow reef that I thought all would have died, did not die. And some of them that are 2 years old are thriving and looking beautiful. And so we actually only did 2 days of outplanting in 2019 and maybe 3 in 2020. So I'm going to say, you know, what is a low-hanging fruit is that we can beg for the catamaran. We have gotten so lucky with the moorings. We pay the insurance, sometimes the fuel, and of course the captain, but that's a huge donation. And so if we get this, another catamaran right there, Silk Key could be another case study where we just stay out there for 3-4 days and just jam ram that shallow reef full of different genets of the Palmata microfragments and really get it done. So one thing that some of you may or may not know is that over the years, maybe you think I move too slow, but in my mind, you do not publish results on 12 months or 16 months when it comes to corals. That is such an aggravating pet peeve of mine. It's not like that. You need long-term data. It is long-term stuff we need to know. And so I have taken the time and I have proven to myself, and maybe we haven't published, and that's another fault. If we publish more, maybe we would get more big money. And that I own that. I take responsibility for that. But at the end of the day, I prove things to myself and I take my time, and I think we are ready for make that step, the silks, and that is doable. We could do that next year or the year after, if not next year. We can get that catamaran and we could cover that fringing reef at silks, but where we need the help, like we didn't have shucks me, Mike Beck. We didn't have Mike Beck online today. We didn't who is like the big coastal, you know, protection bigwig, right? And we're still did not talk about rugosity and how we prove shoreline protection. And many of you on here, maybe not all of you on here, but many of you on here know that poor Silk Keys is disappearing and eroding as we speak. And so, but this is a low-hanging fruit, and that's easy with the catamaran thing. But like I've been saying, just take that exponentially. What if we had a vessel? Where, not me, I know to live on a vessel. I got houses, we got chickens, we got ducks, we got dogs. But what if we could staff it with trained Belizeans that stay full-time and provide that employment, right? And have that vessel available for rotating people in and out, for respond to emergencies, for get to remote locations, for do the exchange trips safely, so we don't have to jump on no plane or go through Miami, for go to Honduras or for go to Jamaica or for go to Cuba, right? So not too big, but not too small, but also the part that I don't know anything about is how to make that vessel be eco-friendly. So engineering people, that's where we need you to like figure that out, like how you make a vessel like that not run on fossil fuel. What do we do with the sewage? You know, and I really want to link with how he named that's that shepherd guy, you know, the famous guy that was on TV and
the sea shepherds.
Yeah, because I mean they have huge donors that like buy these vessels for them, and they have a staff of a bunch of hippie vegan people, you know, with their tattoos that volunteer their time, and they are these
no burgers serving there.
They go out there, like you said, Glenn, for free. They go out there for like 6 months at a time, and they're engineers on these boats, and they're dedicated to the cause, you know. Why how do we get to that level? How do we jump to that level?
I will ask Jim, my colleague, because he's like supports them and yeah, and could figure out how to do the engineering side. But Dave is also figuring it out.
Yeah, but I mean that is smaller scale. But yeah, we could start smaller scale, of course. You have to creep before you walk. We know.
No, but I have a colleague here in marine sciences too, who's always said, like, you know, let me know what you need, because there are a bunch of people in Florida with really big, wealthy boat. But he was saying that they leave the boats parked for a long period of time. It's like some
Yeah.
club or something like that. And
That's
so
what Tara told us too. She said that all these rich people, you know, and Irwin too, because Irwin used to captain, for those of you that know Irwin Westby, used to captain for these big fancy boats too. And half the time out of the year, they're parked at a port. But I mean, I'd rather not take that route because I don't want like mess up somebody's fancy new yacht with cement work or whatever. I'd rather have our own vessel. I don't really want no owners.
They may just give one, they may just donate one, Lisa. So.
Yeah, but we just need that connection.
They just say, you know what? This is a headache. You can have it for the greater good of our marine resources. You never know.
that's, yeah, no, for sure.
You know, those whale wars guys have a boat down here in Key West, Stock Island Harbor, that's been sitting there for 8 months. Should get in touch with them and have them send it down to Belize.
Could have been out.
It's a big boat too.
How big? Too big is not good.
100 feet.
Oh no, that's what we want. We like 100, 125 foot.
Yeah.
And of course, we need a support skiff. For getting to the smaller, shallow areas.
It looks really mean too. It's got teeth on the front of it, and it's all camouflage and stuff.
You touch my coral and I'll kill you.
Yeah. You can't see it when it drives by, you know, but it's just sitting there.
But anyway.
Well, thank you, everybody.
I gotta go. Thank you
Glenn.
all. Thank
Nice
you,
seeing
Lisa,
you,
for
Glenn.
everything you do.
Yeah, cheers, everyone.
Thank you, Maya.
Cheers.
Thank you both, Maya.
Cheers.
Peter says hi.
Hey, Jamari.
All right, take care, Mr. Glenn.
Victor.
Bye-bye.
Two new friends over here. See you all soon.
Mr. Baldramas?
Victor, you got a haircut.
Yeah,
You look like your dad, Mr. Baldramas.
I know. I just start getting there.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, Dad.
Yes.
Bye, darling.
Dad refuses to let a barber come over to cut his hair.
Cheers.
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 Yeah.
Right.